Hey guys, this is Kelly from Kips Automotive. What I've got here is an oil pump, and I decided to take some time tonight and show you guys how an oil pump works. This is an oil pump off of a 2005 Nissan Pathfinder. It's the 4.0 liter V6, also known as the VQ40DE dual overhead cam. And it looks like I got my plunger stuck in there, so I'll have to show you on the old one. So, what you got is you have these passageways here and this passageway here, and there's a divider in between the two passageways. And your gears, they sit down in here. This is fairly new, so it's kind of tight like it's supposed to be. And this is driven by the crankshaft. Okay, and this sits down in here, and as your engine rotates, it drives this gear right here. Okay, your oil pickup is right here. Oil comes in here and goes into this passageway that I was showing you when this was out, and of course, let's see, which way is the rotation on this? I do believe. So anyhow, as this comes around here, yeah, this way. Okay, so as this rotates, these passageways, they open up. And what that does is that creates a slight vacuum that draws oil from your pickup tube, which goes down into the oil pan. And it gets drawn into here, and so it comes around to the other side, to this other passageway, and you can see the pockets as they open up, they're full of oil. It comes around and it starts to close that hole. And oil is it's like a hydraulic fluid, okay? It cannot compress. So as it comes around right here, as this starts to close, that creates pressure, and it pushes the oil into this passageway, which then goes around to this outlet, which distributes oil to the rest of your engine here. Now this goes, I believe, into the oil cooler / oil filter assembly on this particular engine. But typically, as oil comes out of an oil pump, it goes into an oil filter. So, that's how that works. It gives you an idea how the pump works. Now, you also have a pump regulator, a pressure regulator. And the pressure regulator sits in here, and I'll show you here on the old one what it looks like. There's a plunger that sits in this port right here. And as pressure builds right here and is distributed throughout the rest of the engine, excess pressure that comes up against the top of this piston, when it's enough pressure that this spring starts to compress, well, it opens up a port. See, there's a hole. I don't know if you guys can see that. As it pushes, there it goes. As it pushes against the top of that piston, it pushes it down, and your extra oil pressure is bled off into the outlet here. And of course, it's that extra pressure. It doesn't build pressure over here because this goes straight into a pickup tube. There's no valve, there's nothing to stop it, so the excess pressure is just bled off. And these are actually adjustable on some engines, or I've seen people take shims and put them in the bottom of this piston here, which increases the amount of pressure that is put on this spring. You see, the spring is held in by this nut or this bolt here, and the shims will kind of increase the distance here, and it'll add a little extra pressure. I've seen some people do that, but really you don't need that unless you're on like a high performance application and all that good stuff. Anyhow, that's a new one. And a new one, you have hardly any clearance between the sides of the oil pump and the gear there. And of course, your gears, they mesh pretty tight. And that's no new oil pump. So what usually causes these to wear out and start losing pressure is actually in right here, which is in your pressure regulator. And the spring will sometimes wear out and won't produce as much pressure, or your piston will start to wear out and it won't seal properly in the cylinder that it sits in, therefore allowing pressure to kind of sneak past this piston here. So that's the most common cause of fault. However, rather than just replacing the plunger and spring, I recommend that it's always a good idea to go ahead and replace your pump. And that's because these start to wear out, and the gap, you see this does not mesh together as snug as this one did, but this gap will start to increase here, and therefore whenever it comes time to compress and create pressure, it's bleeding past here and bleeding past here, and of course it's not closing all the way, so you're losing pressure. So that's one cause. And of course another cause is as this rotates around here, it starts to wear into the sides here. And this doesn't look bad, but you can actually take your finger and it gets caught in these grooves. So that means that oil pressure is actually bleeding off. And instead of generating pressure that goes into the correct passageways, it's just kind of bleeding off back around in towards the pickup side, therefore causing it to lose pressure. So anyhow, yeah, that's how a oil pump works. Any questions you guys have, feel free to leave them in the comments. That'll conclude today's video on an oil pump. Thanks for watching.